And welcome back. Well, this is why we call them shakedown runs or trial runs. I prefer shakedown runs. And by shakedown runs, I mean test driving the truck around. One, to get it through its break-in period, and two, to verify that we don't have any problems with any of the repairs. Well, here you see a problem. Now, if you remember, a couple of episodes back, or I should say a couple of parts back, we replaced the field coil in the AC compressor because the field coil wasn't engaging or running, acting like a magnet like it should, and pulling the clutch in to engage it with the pulley. Well, what you can see here is what's left of those two pieces. This is the clutch disc that normally sits on top of these pulleys, and it's splined to the compressor shaft that you see there. So what happens is when this magnet engages, it pulls this in, and then friction material, some clutch material that should be on this face of this pulley, gets pulled in and makes contact with the rotating pulley that has your drive belt on it. And that then in turn turns your compressor. And when the compressor is not running, this magnet disengages. This is allowed to come up a bit, enough to clear the rotating assembly, and then this pulley just spins free, allowing your drive belt to operate. But as you can see here, that clutch is fried. It is literally melted. And I can actually take some of this clutch material you can see here. There you go. There's a nice chunk of it. You see, it's just trashed. It's gone. This surface is all ground that you can see. You can probably see parts of the coil wire for the field coil through these holes. And this pulley should be separate from the field coil piece. The field coil and this outer drive pulley is now fused into one unit. More importantly, if I can get it to show itself here, you see part of the main snap ring back there. That is the snap ring that is supposed to hold this field coil in place and secure it in place on the front of the AC compressor. What has happened is that C-clip snapped out of its groove, allowing the field coil to do this up against the AC compressor. Since this was allowed to move free, the field coil made contact at some point with the side of the pulley, because it's a very, very small gap in here that allows this pulley to fit over this field coil and then rotate. So at some point, it made contact with the pulley. Now, you got to understand that depending on how fast you're driving, this pulley is spinning, thousands of revolutions per minute. So it wouldn't take long for metal on the metal outside of this field coil to the metal inside diameter of this pulley, once they meet, to basically form together and fuse into one unit. What was happening was, since this was now, I guess for lack of a better word, now this piece of it was it was spinning against here, and at least until at some point it had burned the clutches out on our clutch piece. Once this burned out and made metal-to-metal contact with this, heated up this pulley, which then finished fusing the pulley with the clutch, with the field coil kit into one unit. Once this became one solid unit, this pulley could no longer rotate, and it dragged the drive belt across it, the rest of the accessories or crank pulled the dry belt across it until the dry belt snapped. So what had happened was we were doing another test run, and thankfully it didn't do this while we were going where we went. We basically went to an appointment. Everything was fine. I came out of the appointment. I was getting ready to actually film driving the truck home. And as soon as I backed out of the space, I immediately lost power steering, which obviously told me we either lost a power steering pump or we lost a dry belt. So I immediately shut it off, popped the hood. Lo and behold, dry belt is smoked, snapped in half. And before I went and picked up another pump, I said, you know what? Let me just rotate the pulleys. Make sure that we didn't have an idler pulley or some other pulley seize up on us, which is why the belt would have broken. So all the other pulleys were spinning free until I got down to the one on the air conditioner compressor. And rather than this spinning free, it was just hard frozen. There was just no way that could turn anymore. So unfortunately, we had to get the truck towed home because I didn't have a belt that was short enough that I could bypass the air conditioning compressor and at least drive it home. But I have a towing package with AAA, so other than the membership that we pay each year, it didn't cost me anything to get it towed back to the house. So with that being said, I have ordered a new pulley, a new field coil, and a new clutch. Now, the compressor itself seems fine. It didn't score up or damage any of the snap ring mounting points that's on the spindle of the compressor. I'm able to put this on, engage the splines, and rotate the compressor by hand. So that still feels good. So I don't think our compressor is any worse for the wear. But we won't know until we can at least get these parts replaced, engage the compressor, and see if the compressor is making any abnormal noises or any chattering. Now, the good news is we're getting ready to head into winter, so the need for air conditioning is minimal now. But with that being said, one of the things a vehicle will do is when you put it in defrost mode, or at least the modern ones will, they'll actually run the air conditioner for a tad bit, because the air conditioner allows you to, or actually uses the air conditioner to dehumidify air that's being blown up against the windshield. So you're hitting the windshield to defrost it, but you're also hitting it with, air that has a lot less moisture in it, because again, it's using the air conditioner as a dehumidifier. But even if the air conditioning compressor doesn't survive what has happened to this pulley, if it doesn't run, it's not the end of the world. It will still allow us to put a pulley on there and function the vehicle and use for the dry belt. We can always come back and replace the compressor later, especially as it hits the summer months. But like I said, I think the compressor's fine. I can spline this in, still turn the compressor by hand. I can feel the pistons moving in the compressor, and I can hear it, trying to compress when those pistons are coming up on compression. So I think it'll be fine. Now, with that being said, if you remember when we replaced this field coil, and I'm going to say that this is not a failure of this unit. It's not a failure of the snap ring. It's a failure in the sense that when I replaced this field coil, if you remember, I said that snap ring looked a little bit off, but it still looked okay enough to use. Well, obviously that wasn't the case. And because of that, I get to eat this one, but I will own up to it. I should have replaced that snap ring when I had the chance to do it. Now, interesting enough, I did find this online. Here's a Mopar part number for you. What this is, what they call this is a AC compressor refresh kit. You can see it comes with a bracket, a new bracket for the end of the field coil connection. It comes with a new inner and outer snap rings. It comes with a new retaining screw for this bracket, and also comes with a new retaining bolt for retaining the clutch onto the shaft of the AC compressor. And this is the shim that was underneath this unit here. And the kit does come with a couple of new shims as well which we'll have to use. And we'll have to use a feeler gauge when we get the new units in, because the clutch has to be a certain distance, or they want it to be a certain distance away from this drive pulley, so that way when it engages, it's not too far out or too close in. And this is what your shims do. You just take your shims and you drop them down in there, and it spaces this out from the shaft on the AC compressor. Now, I found this kit shortly after we got everything reassembled and we were doing test drives with it. And I got it because, if you remember, again, in the video, I didn't quite like the way that snap ring looked, but I used it anyway, and I was like, you know what? I bought this kit. I said, let me go ahead and just take this apart one of these days and replace that snap ring. Well, unfortunately, as you can see, I didn't do it soon enough. And not doing that soon enough, when I should have done it, bit me in the butt on that one. Murphy's the big little dog, and he took a chunk out of me on this one. But like I said, I've got new parts on the way. We'll get all this replaced. We'll get it up and functional again. And so far, this has been the only issue that's come out of the shakedown runs. Everything else has been fine. But again, this is not a failure of the part. It's not a failure of the snap ring. It's a failure of me. I should have replaced that snap ring instead of reusing the one that was in there after I saw it was kind of tweaked a little bit. So with it being tweaked, it obviously didn't seat well enough and eventually popped out of the groove, which again allowed this field coil to move in relation to the pulley, and basically smoked everything from there. So it's just kind of a long-winded way of saying that I'll show you the aftermath of this once we get it all repaired again. But I wanted to show you the part number on this refresh kit. So in case you're in the same boat and you're in there and you're replacing that field coil, you might just want to pick up one of these little refresh kits as well and replace those snap rings while you're at it. But again, I'll bring you back, but just wanted to put this video out there to show you that, yeah, I made a mistake, and I'm not going to hide it from you. And I would say that, you know, take this video, use it as a lesson learned, and make sure that you don't make the same one. And with that being said, I'll talk to you later and bring you back for the next one. Thank you much. Bye.